to math lesson 16.3. Multiply decimals with zeros in the product. I can write the correct number of zeros in the product of two decimal numbers. Step it out. Jamal and his friends arrived at the train station. The map shows the distances to various attractions from the station. His guidebook recommends a sandwich shop 2/10 of the way from the train station to the zoo. How far is the sandwich shop from the train station? To solve the problem, the product 2/10 times 3/10. What is the related whole number product? So, taking out the decimals, what is that? Well, what's the equation? 2 times 6, which is, what do you guys, or not, sorry, 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay, so how many decimal place values are needed in the decimal product? So how many decimal places do we have? We have 1 in the first one and 1 in the second one, so a total of 2 decimal place values. Okay, there's only one digit in the whole number product. Write zeros as needed to the left of the whole number product so that there are enough digits to place the decimal point correctly. What is the decimal product? So we had 6. We said we needed how many decimal places? 2. So we're going to loop over 1, 2 places, and then since we don't have anything there, we can put a what there? So we're going to put a 0 to hold our spot. So our answer is 600, right? So how far is the sandwich shop from the train station? 600 of a mile. Step it out. The animals at the zoo are exhibited in a rectangular shaped spaces. What is the area of the giraffe space? What is the area of the zebra space? Find the area of the giraffe space. Multiply 2/10 times 700. How many decimal place values are in each factor? So we have what? So 2/10 says how many decimal place values? 1. So 1 decimal place value. Then 700 has how many decimal place values? So 2 decimal place values. So how many decimal place values are in the product of 2/10 and 700? So 3 total, right? How many digits are in the whole number product of 2 times 7? 2. Well, since we would do 2 times 7, you'd get what? 14. So you only have 2 digits. So how many zeros are you going to have to add? 1, right? Okay, so we're going to have to add, so we have 2 digits, right? Because 2 times 7 is 14, which is only 2 digits. So then how many zeros? We said we're going to have to add 1 0, right? So what is the area of the giraffe space? So basically we have 14 and we said how many decimal places? 3. So we go 1, 2, 3. And we put a what there to hold our spot? A 0. So 14,000, right? Of a kilometer squared. We found the area. Now, how do I know that I go to the left, I loop to the left, and I don't loop to the right? Are we multiplying whole numbers or only parts of whole numbers? Only parts of whole numbers. So that tells me my numbers are going to be less than 1. If I went to the right, my number would be what? Greater than 1. And when we're dealing with decimals, we have to hold those place values, right? For the number of how many there are. Find the area of the zebra space. Multiply 2/10 times 400. How many decimal places are in that product of multiplying those two? So I have 1 here and 2 here. So how many place values? So 3 decimal place values. how many zeros do you need to write to the left of the whole number product? So how many zeros are we gonna have? So 2 times 4 is what? 8. That's a single digit, right? And we need 3. So how many zeros? So 2. Okay, so we said we're gonna need 2 zeros. And then basically we said 2 times 4 is 8. And then we said how many decimal places do we need? 3, right? So 1, 2, 3. So to hold my spot, I'm gonna put zeros in there to hold my spot. So what is the area of the zebra space? So not 800, 8,000 of a kilometer squared, because we are finding area. Check understanding this. Store has a model airplane that has a mass of 0.3 of a kilogram. It also has a model helicopter that has a mass of 0.3 as much as the mass of the airplane. What is the mass of the helicopter? 0.3 a kilogram, 3 times as much. What is the mass? So we're going to take what? So 310 times 310. Now, technically, when you do that, do you act like you see the decimals yet? No. So what is 3 times 3? 9. And then I have 1 decimal place in the first number. I have another decimal place in the second number. So 2 total. So I'm going to come to the end and go 1, 2 to the left and put a 0 in there to hold my spot. So my answer is 900 of a what? Kilogram. Next one. Do I act like I see the decimals? No. So 6 times 1 is 6. I have 1 decimal place on the top, 1 decimal place on the bottom. So I have a total of 2. So I go to the end and I loop over twice. And what do I put in there? A 0. So my answer is 600. So do I want to see looping? Yes, I want to see that as your work. Okay. Number 3, do I pretend like I don't see the decimals? Yes. 3 times 3 is 9. I have 2 decimal places on the top, 1 decimal place on the bottom, so a total of 3. So I'm going to come to the end and loop over 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So I put zeros in there to hold my spot, and my answer is 9,000. Okay. Next one, do I pretend like I can see the decimals? No, I pretend like they're not there. 8 times 4 is 32. I have how many decimal places on the top? 2. I have how many on the bottom? 1. So I have a total of 3. So I'm going to loop over 1, 2, 3. I put a 0 in there to hold my spot. So my answer is 32,000. On your note, number 5, the reptilian amphibian exhibit has a tree frog that is 4/10 as long as the bullfrog shown. What is the length of the tree frog? Explain how you know. So the tree frog is 4/10 and the bullfrog is what? 2/10. So the bullfrog is 2/10 and then the tree frog is 4/10 as long. So we're going to multiply, right? Okay. So we pretend like we don't see any decimals yet. So what is 2 times 4? 8. How many decimal places do I have at the first one? 1. How many do I have in the second one? 1. So I have a total of 2. So I go to the end and I loop over 1, 2. What do I put there to hold my spot? 0. So my answer is 800 meters. Sweet potatoes cost 85 cents for 1 pound. If Salem buys 0.8 of a pound of sweet potatoes, how much does he pay? So we have our 8,500 times what? So for 1 pound, by that, how much does he pay? So what am I multiplying by? 8/10. Okay, 8 times 5 is put the 0, carry the 4. 8 times 8 is, plus 4 is, put the 8, carry the 6. 8 times 0 is, plus 6 is. Now, do I really need to plug through the 0? No, because you're just going to get 0 again, right? Now, how many decimal places do I have on the top? 2. How many do I have on the bottom? 1. So I have a total of 3. So I'm going to come over here to the end and go 1, 2, 3. So this also equals what? 6,800. Now our label is what? Is money, right? Okay. Or the dollar sign. So is 68 2 places after the decimal? Is that sufficient for money? Yes, because with money you always need 2 places, right? Don't forget to hold your dollar sign or your 1 spot. So 68 cents. Okay, next one. I pretend like there's no decimals yet, right? 1 times 7 is 7. How many decimal places do I have on the top? 1. On the bottom, 1. So a total of 2. So I'm going to come down here and loop over 1, 2, and I put a 0 to hold my spot. So my answer is 700. Next one. We act like there's no decimals there. 3 times 4 is 12. How many decimal places on the top? 1. On the bottom, 1. So a total of 2. So my answer is 1,200. All right. Act like there's no decimals. 8 times 5 is 40. How many decimals on top? How many on bottom? So a total of 2. So 1, 2. So my answer is, I could do 40 hundredths or I can just leave it as 4 tenths. Okay. Next one, pretend like there's no decimals. 6 times 9 is, how many decimals on top? 2. How many decimals on bottom? So a total of 3. So I'm going to leave over 3 places. 1, 2, 3. So my answer is 54,000. Okay. Next one, I have, I pretend like there's no decimals. 2 times 3 is 6. How many decimals do I have on top? 2. How many do I have on bottom? So how many loops? 3. 1, 2, 3. And I put in zeros to hold my spot. So my answer is 6,000. Next one, I pretend like there's no decimals yet. So 9 times 7 is, how many decimals on top? 2. How many on bottom? 1. So I loop over 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So I put a 0 to hold my spot. So my answer is 63,000. And then I put a 0 out front as well to say that there's no whole number, right, guys? Okay. All right, let's play on your own. So we act like there's no decimals there. 8 times 1 is 8. How many decimal places do I have on the top? How many do I have on the bottom? So I need to go over 2 spots. So I put a 0 to hold my spot. So my answer is 8 hundredths. And then I need to remember my label. So it's actually 8 cents, right? All right, pretend like there's no decimals. 4 times 5 is 20. How many decimals on top? 2. How many on bottom? 1. So a total of 1, 2, 3. So I put a 0 in there. My answer is 200. And then I put a dollar sign, so 2 cents. Now, in this case, could I have done 20,000? No, because with money, you only have 2 place values, right? Okay, pretend like I don't see the decimals. This time it's 60 times 4. What's that? So 240. How many decimals on top? 2. How many on bottom? 1. So a total of 1, 2, 3. So my answer is 2,400 with the dollar sign, and it's 24 cents.